how is Zeolite in the form of the ZeoCharge? That because we talked about in previous videos how they're different. So not all zeolites are equal. So if you're not sure, go back to that. And there's a video on that alone. But how will it help someone who's got severe or even just moderate brain fog?
Sure. Well, there's a number of different ways. Really, brain fog is a symptom that's caused by various things. So the great thing about zeolite is that it has such a broad spectrum detox capacity. It binds to a lot of the toxic elements that are resulting in the brain fog. So, for example, one thing that can cause brain fog and does cause brain fog in a number of people is an excess ammonia, an ammonia buildup in the body. So ammonia is a metabolic waste product that your body naturally produces. But sometimes, especially if your liver is not working properly, there's a buildup of ammonia and it enters the bloodstream and then it actually goes to your brain where it's neurotoxic. So in individuals that have any sort of liver dysfunction, also kidney dysfunction, because it's all the urea cycle. Your body takes ammonia, brings it to your liver, converts it to urea, goes to your kidneys, and then it's out. So if your kidneys or your liver aren't working, you get a buildup of either ammonia or urea. And zeolite has a strong bind to both ammonia and urea. So that's just an example of one. Ammonia is also a byproduct of microbial waste. So if you have excess yeast or Lyme or other microbes, they release ammonia as one of their waste products as well. And that just adds to your total ammonia load. And that's just building up and could potentially be going to your brain. If you have those things, your detox pathways generally aren't working as well as they should. So you most likely have a buildup. So there's other things as well. I mean, just the metals that can accumulate in your brain. Such as mercury, especially if you have the amalgam fillings in your mouth, since they're in such close proximity to your brain, they tend to vaporize and end up in your brain. And the zeolite definitely helps remove the mercury from organs and throughout the entire body, as we can see through some of the case studies that we've conducted. That is just able to offer a whole body systemic detox. So there's just a lot of things. Mycotoxins, of course, we know that those cause a ton of inflammation, resulting in brain fog, and the zeolite has a nice ability to bind to those mycotoxins that are floating around in your body, just so your immune system doesn't attack them. And that's really the key, is getting the zeolite in the body so it can bind to things before your immune system has a chance to attack it. Because when the immune system attacks, that equals inflammation. Inflammation equals brain fog, and other symptoms.
Will zeolites help with weight loss?
Well, definitely can. It's more of an indirect effect. So, as you mentioned, inflammation is one of the driving factors, and zeolite has the ability to reduce or lower inflammation in a number of ways, primarily by calming the immune system down. So, when the immune system attacks, inflammation occurs. And short term, that's just the defense mechanism by the body. That's great. But if you have a long term or chronic inflammation, that's where problems can occur. That's where excess weight can start building up, et cetera. So let's say you have a number of toxic elements in your body just from daily exposure or from internal accumulation over the years of metals, molds, maybe excess histamine, various things, just toxic elements, plastics, et cetera. You have these things. And if your immune system is constantly attacking them, which it will be because your body sees them as a threat, because they are, if you take the ZeoCharge, zeolite, it will bind those toxic elements, safely remove them from the body before your immune system has a chance to attack them. So if your immune system is not on the attack all the time, that's going to lower the inflammatory load, because you have to remember immune system activation equals inflammation. So when you have less inflammation, your body just is in a better position to lose weight, for one, and not to put on excess weight. Now, in addition to that, when you consider a lot of the toxic elements, they mostly accumulate in fat. So a lot of times your body will actually want to keep a nice reserve of fat to store the metals, plastics, and various toxins. So a lot of people go on they try to do a weight loss protocol, and these are great protocols. They're on great supplements. They're doing great diets, great exercise routines. They seem to be doing everything right, but they're not getting the proper result. And it could be because there's an accumulation of toxins and metals in the body, and the body is using the fat as a defense mechanism to keep them stored. Because if you lose the weight, your body might release these toxins into circulation, and then they could end up in your brain or another organ where you might not want them. So your body is a lot smarter than us. And we don't give our body enough credit sometimes. It knows what it's doing. So one of the keys, in my opinion, to an effective weight loss protocol is to detox. And my favorite thing to do that is zeolite, just so then your body's in a better position to lose the weight safely. Weight loss it can be incredibly dangerous. I mean, it's sad. A lot of people, you hear all the time, they drop dead jogging and various things. Yeah, it should, and I don't know every cause of that, but a lot of times I think it is due to the toxins that are being released from the system. So yeah, your body, it's really interesting how the body works. I mean, the metals and toxins come in, they're floating around. Your body wants to push them out of circulation as quickly as possible because your body wants to remain homeostatic in the blood, right? So then they go to fatty tissues for storage because then they're out of the blood. And your immune system at that point is really not attacking them. They're safely stored. But then when that fat starts breaking down, then released again. And that's where you can get an issue.
Hot topic, longevity, anti-aging.
Yes.
So those of you listening and you are over 40 and you're definitely thinking about anti-aging, can zeolite help slow down aging?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of my favorite tools for anti-aging. Actually, I think when you think of anti-aging, the word that comes to mind is oxidative stress. And that's correlated with what most people would consider like free radicals, or when you think antioxidants, that's what people think of when they think anti-aging, right? Antioxidants. And antioxidants are taken to reduce oxidative stress. So oxidative stress results when your body produces basically too many free radicals for it to handle. And then that equals basically accelerated cell damage and aging. So what happens is we're exposed to free radicals every day. Our body produces them naturally. Some of them we want a balance of them. Some of them can actually be helpful. But when they start overloading the system and our body's natural antioxidant capacity, which is just our body's total ability to deal with those free radicals, when that is not able to keep up with the amount of free radicals produced, that's where we get issues. And that's where you get this oxidative stress condition, which equals accelerated aging. And that's where we really need to do something. So the traditional approach is just, okay, let's take supplements. Let's take vitamin C. Let's take vitamin E. Let's take these antioxidants, which can be helpful because they go and then they basically scavenge these free radicals that are floating around. So free radicals, they're these unstable molecules. They're going around and they're just wreaking havoc on the body. Vitamin C, for example, or these other antioxidants, they donate an electron. It stabilizes the free radical, so it no longer causes damage. That's a great solution. The problem is most people end up taking these things forever, and they have to continually raise the dose of those supplements as their oxidative stress burden increases over time. So zeolite works in a little different way. One, it has a similar effect. It has a direct free radical scavenging effect. It doesn't donate an electron, but it actually traps the free radicals in its cage. So that's one. So very similar to the others, just a little different mechanism. But then where it really gets interesting is it has the ability to reduce the free radical formation. So when you have these things like heavy metals, ionizing radiation, toxic elements, mycotoxins, they're causing a stress on the body, and that stress is resulting in oxidative stress and cellular damage and aging. So if you can remove the source of the free radical production, then it's going to slow down the aging process. So that's one thing that it does. And honestly, that for a longer term approach, that's going to be more effective than just going in and pumping in antioxidants all the time. Then the third thing that zeolite can do for anti-aging is to raise your body's total antioxidant capacity, right? So your body's natural ability to handle free radicals. So if you can raise that, you can basically be exposed to more free radicals, more toxic substances without getting the cellular damage because your body has more resources to deal with it. So there's some animal research indicating that the zeolite can help raise superoxide dismutase, glutathione peroxidase, some of the body's natural antioxidants. And from our own case studies, we know that just the zeolite alone can raise your body's vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin A, vitamin E, vitamin B6, B9, B12 without supplementing with any of those things or changing diet. Just because by removing some of the toxic stressors on the body doesn't have to use up its resources as quickly. And that raises those vitamin levels naturally and some of the antioxidant levels. So it's really quite interesting. But those are kind of the three ways: just the direct ability to remove those free radicals, reducing the formation of the free radicals, and then putting your body in a better position to handle the free radicals because we're always going to be exposed.
Detox. What does it mean to detox, and why do you need zeolite to detox?
Yeah. So, I mean, living in the 21st century, I think we all need to be actively detoxing just because of the exposure, right? Now, some people's natural detox abilities are going to be greater than others. Some people's detox pathways are not working as well. And those individuals, active detox becomes even more important. So, in my opinion, there's basically two classifications of detox. You've got level one, which is going to be removing the daily dose of toxins, as I call them. Those are the things that our bodies are exposed to every day. So, think food, water, air, external exposure, but then also think internal production. So, naturally, our bodies are producing a number of toxins every day. We've got the metabolic waste products, such as ammonia. We've got histamine. We've got all these things. We also have the microbial waste products. So if we have any sort of excess microbes, maybe it's excess yeast, candida, maybe it's parasites, maybe it's bacteria, whatever it may be, they're releasing waste products that are toxins. And the ZeoCharge can go in and help bind to a lot of these toxins, and that's going to calm down the system just by reducing that stress. So that's the daily dose of toxins. That's benefit number one, or level one, I'd say, of detox. Level two is going to be the deeply stored toxins and metals that accumulate over a lifetime, right? So most people have some level of accumulation of these toxins in their body just because we're living in the 21st century. The healthier one is, the less likely that is to occur. And a lot of times what happens, a lot of people, they go and they're chronically ill, they go and they do testing for heavy metals and they're high, and they assume that it's the heavy metals that are making them sick. A lot of times it's the opposite. It's actually they have high heavy metals because they were sick. So anything that makes you sick or causes your body to work extra hard and you have some issues, at that point, your body doesn't have enough energy to focus on detox. So it puts that aside. So now when the metals and these toxic elements are coming into the body, instead of the body naturally removing them, the body pushes them into storage. And those are going to be fat cells. So that's basically what happens. That's why it's all about energy utilization by the body. In a healthy person, the body has enough energy to do everything it needs to do, plus detox everything that's coming in. If not, then it's just you continue accumulating these toxic elements and you become sicker and sicker and sicker. And even if they weren't your primary cause to begin with, they are now contributing factors to your chronic condition because they're toxic elements accumulating in your body. And at that point, it becomes more difficult to remove them because your body pushes them into fat cells, and then it pushes them into deeply stored organs like kidneys and liver and brain, various parts. At that point, it is very difficult to remove them. And a lot of times your body just will not do it on its own because it just won't have enough energy to do so. And it's comfortable. Your body is comfortable having the metals there. And it's a defense mechanism because if your metals are deeply stored in organs, it's actually calming down your immune system, because if they're floating around in your blood, your body's going to be attacking them. And if your body can't handle that right now because it's attacking other things or working on other things, it just shoves them into storage. Short term, that's great. Long term, not so much, because whatever organ it's in, it's going to be deteriorating that organ. So if you have mercury, it's technically safer short term to have it in your brain than in your bloodstream. But long term, you don't want mercury in your brain because it could lead to a number of degenerative, brain conditions type of thing. So very interesting stuff. But what I found is that a lot of things just really don't have the detox potential to remove the deeply stored metals from the body. But what we found is that the ZeoCharge, especially at the higher dose, is able to get the body to naturally push out some of these metals for excretion, which has been quite fascinating. What I found to be interesting is that it's really less about what's coming in the body and more about just the body being balanced. I mean, I was just in Hawaii last week, and I tested a guy who just did a 40-day water fast.
Oh.
And so I went to this, it's like an off-grid Christian community that he kind of developed, and tested most of the people there with my, tissue test for metals and minerals. And they were incredible, incredibly balanced. So and I've heard that before. People go carnivore, they go on fasting, whatever it is. They're not getting the same amount of nutrients, but their minerals are balancing because their body doesn't have to use up the resources as quickly. Same with the vitamins. I mean, that's the main thing I see with vitamins is I see it over and over and over. People go on the ZeoCharge, their vitamin levels skyrocket without supplementing.
Hmm.
just because their body's not using up. It goes back to oxidative stress. Oxidative stress uses up fat soluble vitamins. So if you remove that oxidative stress, your body's vitamin reserves just naturally go up. The minerals just they balance
Mhm.
without taking them. I think
Yeah.
the body, it's just the body has an incredible ability to remain in balance as long as we remove the stressors that are pulling on it. There's basically my theory is there's 3 levels of toxin storage in the body. I think you've got level 1, 2, and 3. Level 1 is just going to be circulation. So kind of blood, like the enters the body. You have a certain level in the blood, then the body, when it meets that threshold, your body has to do something. So it tries to get rid of as much as it can. But whatever it can't get rid of, it pushes into level 2, which I think that's where you're getting the fatty tissue. So that's going to be like what I'm testing for in the hand. That's going to be maybe some surface level organ stuff, wherever it's at. And I think the body likes to maintain a certain level there. And then whatever when that threshold is exceeded, the body then pushes it into level 3, and that's what I consider deep storage. So that's probably more of like the deeply stored organs. That's the stuff that almost never comes out. It's interesting because the body doesn't want to get rid of all the metals. You're never going to completely remove all the metals from your tissue because your body can use them for cellular functions, right? Ionic mimicry. So if you run out of minerals completely, your body likes to keep a reserve of metals, even toxic metals, because they can bind to mineral receptor sites in a pinch. Now they're poisoning you, but they're keeping you alive.
Huh.
So that's why you're never going to get rid of on a tissue level, you're never going to get rid of the metals. Now, if you're doing a urine test, a hair test, or a blood test, it's going to look like you've gotten rid of all the metals because you're not releasing anymore. But they're still there when you do a tissue analysis.
Okay.
And it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Nothing. Right.
It's the threshold. Now, what I found, and this is what's fascinated me, is that very rarely do people actually get to the point where they open detox pathways and start pushing out the metals from the deeply stored organs. And there was really no way to detect this until the test we're using or an actual biopsy, because when you're doing urine, hair, or blood, it's just, what is, like urine, hair, what's being excreted. You don't know where it's coming from. I think a lot
Right.
of times it's coming from that level 2, just the surface area tissue, which I think is relatively easy to remove with a lot of binders and chelators, homeopathics, whatever. What I found, the only way to remove level 3 toxins, and these are the deeply stored metals and toxins, the only way to get rid of them is for your body to naturally let go. That's the only way. Because OSR, we've talked about the Boyd Haley mercury
When
compound.
when would it do that? Hot, more energy
Yeah,
production?
the body just needs the energy to do so. One, it's basically making room for the metals in levels 1 and 2, and then getting to the point where your body is confident that if it releases these metals from deep storage, it can safely get them out of the body. Because it just doesn't want to do it because they're stored there. Your immune system is not attacking them. They're not causing systemic issues. They're just causing local issues in the organs. But once your body releases them, then your body's going to have to respond. And that's where the higher dose, all this comes in. But I've seen people taking 2 tablespoons of ZeoCharge even for months, and they've removed a lot of level 1 and 2, and they're feeling better. But then we raise them to 4, 5, or 6 tablespoons per day all at once, and then they start pushing out these deeply stored metals, and that's indicated on the test we use by the metal levels rising. So when they rise, that means they're leaving organs or somewhere and they're going into the hand, which is an excretion zone. So it's easy to get the levels to go
It's
down.
done indirectly. So just so they understand, it's not done directly by the ZeoCharge.
No.
It's done indirectly by raising energy, right?
Yep. Which is basically, from the ZeoCharge. But what I found is that really there's very few things that are able to do that. So even the OSR, the chelator that's supposed to go into the blood-brain, cross the blood-brain barrier, go straight into the fat, remove the mercury from the brain, I'm seeing even with that, it's not able to remove mercury from the deeply stored organs unless the body wants to let it go. So it just shows you the body's bond to metals and toxins is stronger than any chelator ever developed. So detox is controlled by your body, not by supplements. The best supplement for detox is a supplement that gets your body naturally detoxing.
Yeah.
So sometimes it might be, that's where the key to detox is getting healthy. That's why the healthier you are, the better your natural detox function is, because you have more energy to do so. Otherwise, your body just completely closes off. And I've seen that too, where people are going through, the lady I recently tested, going through a divorce, incredibly stressed out at this time of her life. We could not get her detox pathways to open. Nothing was moving. And nothing's going to move until she's able to, calm down that response, the mental stress. So that's the thing. It's controlled by the body. Just the question is, can you get the detox pathways open? And the ZeoCharge is what we found to work the best. But still, if there's other issues that need to be resolved, if you have a chronic parasitic infection or something, chronic mold toxicity, whatever, and that's Zeolite's going to help with that. But whatever it is, if there's something else that you're exposed to or mental stress, if that's not addressed, every product is going to be limited in what it can do just because it's the body's in control of it, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mast cell activation, rampant, right? I mean, we're seeing more of it now too in the last 3 years. Can we hope that Zeolite, ZeoCharge can help with mast cell activation?
Yeah, we have a number of people that have been taking ZeoCharge for mast cell. And mast cell is highly correlated with just a lot of toxic elements, right? It's a condition of too much, right? Too much immune response, too much mast cells, too much inflammation, too much of a lot of things, right? It's just overreactivity. So at that point, it becomes extra important to remove a lot of the toxic elements that are floating around in your body, because your immune system, in a normal person, that same level of toxicity might not be causing much of an issue, or might not be noticed. But in someone with overactive immune response with mast cell activation syndrome, their body's attacking everything. It's an overdrive. So it becomes more important to remove those toxic elements. As you do so, it calms down the immune system. Your body starts producing less mast cells. And when you produce less mast cells, you produce less of the inflammatory mediators that mast cells release, such as histamine, which also cause inflammation. So it's this whole cascade. The key is really to remove the toxic elements that are triggering an immune response, which is then triggering all these other inflammatory substances to be produced, which is great short term, but long term, you don't want it. It's going to cause a lot of issues: inflammation, cell damage, once again, aging, pain, all sorts of stuff. So yeah, and people even use the ZeoCharge for allergies. So a lot of people buy it, have reported that their allergies are much better when taking it, just seasonal allergies. And yeah, mast cell activation, once again, tons of people are taking it for that. Very important to get the proper dose, because especially people that are very sensitive, like mast cell activation, taking a micro dose or a tiny dose, which is basically their custom a lot of times, because you want to start slow, work your way up, doesn't really work with the ZeoCharge, because you take a little bit, it just goes in and stirs things up. That might make you worse, because now you have extra things floating around in the body for your immune system to attack. That's going to result in more mast cells, more histamine, more inflammation, more symptoms. But if you take a higher dose, you basically have enough to sop everything up that's floating around, in addition to having extra to sop up whatever was released into the system, maybe from lymphatic drainage or breaking open biofilms, or opening detox pathways, whatever it may be. So the dose is very important. Starting with the higher dose is definitely recommended, generally between the 2 and 6 tablespoons per day for mast cell, and kind of figuring it out from there.
If you have any questions or you want to give this a try, I'm going to put some links at the bottom here. Last piece here is if you're going to do the ZeoCharge, it's really recommended that you do it with the fulvic charge. Am I correct?
Yeah, fulvic charge is great. I mean, ZeoCharge is kind of the foundation. And I like to consider it a foundation for all protocols, because it's really not competing with anything else. It's just, detox is foundational, and it just helps with everything. Fulvic charge is my secondary product because similar, it's also a foundation that helps optimize vitamin, minerals, and nutrients in the body. So it's basically going to help your food become more nutritious. It helps your other supplements work better because it's a delivery system, right? It's a bioenhancer. What it does naturally, fulvic acid in nature, is it binds it to minerals in soil, and then it goes and transports those minerals to the cell and puts them in a usable form. And that's also what it tends to do in the body. So a lot of times it's not always about what's coming in our body, it's what's being utilized and absorbed by the body. So we could be eating nutritious foods, taking great supplements. If they're not getting to where they need to go in the body, they're not, that's not ideal. So the fulvic can help transport those nutrients to where they need to go in the body. And it's just going to help everything work better. It also has detox potential itself. So it basically is a trade. So it'll trade the nutrients that it contains for the toxic substances and help carry them out of the body. It's carbon-based. It's got a lot of things in it. It's got over 70 trace nutrients as well. It also has, it's a combination of purified shilajit extract and a bioactive fulvic complex. So you've got a lot of mineral diversity in there, the 70 plus trace minerals. It also has a lot of adaptogenic properties. especially from the shellage. So there's urolithins. There's just rare earth super nutrients in there that help with a number of issues. So a lot of people report better energy. And that's because it definitely helps with mitochondrial support. So that plays a huge role in detox because the ZeoCharge is more of a direct detox where it's going in and grabbing things. But then the fulvic charge helps support the mitochondrial energy so your body can naturally start pushing out some of these metals and toxic elements better for the ZeoCharge to bind onto. So when taken together, they really do seem to work really well. And I do recommend taking them at the same time, opposed to splitting them up. So a lot of people will do like 2 tablespoons of ZeoCharge, 2 capsules of fulvic charge all at once. And that seems to work really well for people.
Thank you. Yep, that's exactly what I've been doing. And I've been putting them in my protocols for all of my patients. So thank you. This is exciting. And I'm looking forward to, more information from you since, you're doing all that wonderful work with the minerals, with the testing. So looking to hear more about, that, and that the deep storage part of it was very interesting to me. And I think that's important for people to hear that because, you really want to get into that deeper level of detoxification, especially if you're younger. I feel like because you are going to, ATP does slow down with age. And so you're listening to this and you're younger, you do this now because you might be harder when you get older.
it's detox is so complicated. I think it's simple too, but it's testing is really complicated. It's so hard to get an accurate measurement of metals because there's just no way to know where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
Here's where it gets really tricky. So what I've been testing some people very regularly, like every couple of weeks or every 3 to 4 weeks, like my mom. And what'll happen, well, like for my mom, I did share her result with you, but basically she was on 2 tablespoons, nothing happened. She went to 4, dramatic improvement within a month, like detox pathways opened, etc. But when I've retested her, basically the pathways open, so the metals go up and then the metals go back down, up, down, and they always go back down to the exact same level. So it's this pulse. So I think the body opens the pathways, releases metals into the tissue, but then it becomes too much. The body closes the pathway until those metals are removed, and then it opens up again. It's pulsing back and forth. But there's that threshold in the tissue, which we're seeing in the hand, that the body it's just that level that it likes. So that's why a lot of people, I test them, the level goes way up, meaning they're pushing it out, and then the level comes back down to exactly where it was. And I think that initial level is what the body is going to always keep because that's what it just wants as a reserve. But what you really want to get out is the stuff in deep storage. So that's why you want the levels to go up on the test and not down, really.
How does your mom feel?
She's feeling better. She actually just started taking, she started 2, 4, and then she's been doing 6 tablespoons. And when she moved to 6, it actually was the greatest effect because it was an inverted relationship between mercury, aluminum, and the other metals, which is pretty common. Your body a lot of times your body either detoxes mercury or the other metals. So it's really interesting. But then they invert month to month.
I have seen that on hair with myself when I did 2 different hair tests, by the way. I've seen it where with mercury's up, cadmium's down, cadmium's up, mercury's down.
So it's just because the body's kind of just, once again, doesn't have enough energy. So it's like it's choosing its battles. So 1 month it'll decide, let's detox cadmium, arsenic, etc. The next month it says, let's try mercury. It usually never gets to the point of detoxing mercury because it's so toxic. So if you can get mercury up, that's a great sign. But when she moved to 6 tablespoons, she actually got everything going up for the first time.
Okay.
And now she just started doing 6 tablespoons twice a day.
Oh.
Like 4 days ago. And I just talked to her yesterday and she said that actually helped a lot because she went to work really early yesterday. And she said she took it in the morning and she's been taking it at night and actually helped her a lot throughout the day.
What does she feel?
Just like more mental clarity, like thinking clearly, all that kind of stuff. I don't know what else. She had reported she reported a number of things. I think it was hearing or seeing. I think it was eyesight because she wasn't using her glasses anymore. Oh. She was able to see. And I actually hear that all the time. A lot of people actually report both hearing and eyesight is improved, which is interesting.
I might start doing it twice a day, see what happens.